Hey guys, back at you again with another rig making video. Let's turn you around a little bit, get a little bit less of that glare from the back. So I am going to bombard you with these a little bit. We are doing quite a few of them back to back, and I'm going to release them back to back pretty much one a night. Today, or this video's rig, is one that I'm definitely a lot more comfortable tying with Trident gear, but we're going to give it a go with the Gemini system. The thing I like about this, and I suppose Trident can do the same thing, but you get theoretically everything you need in one bag. That's a Genie rig system, and it's for the up and over rig. That's what we're going to be tying in this video, so I'll roll the credits. I don't have one to demonstrate with you for you first, so we're just going to pretty much get into it. The benefit of this rig is it gives you a relatively small package, so around about a 2-foot package, but that'll deliver you around about a 3.5-foot hook length in a small package. So when you're chasing rays and other shy bottom feeder biters, because this does lay flat on the ocean bed, it's the fish aren't necessarily, they're not going to feel the weight and things like that until it's too late. I do fish it with a pennel hook on it, and that's what we're going to be tying today, the up and over with a pennel hook on it. So we're going to start, and I am tying this for my ray chasing, so I am going to tie it with a slightly heavier hook snood than I would normally use, but we're going to start as we always do with the rig body. I'm aiming for a finished rig body of around about 2 feet. So as always, I've got around about just over 2 feet, as I always do. And we're going to start with, once again, as always, working from the main line backwards, a power pulley, or like I say in this case an 85-pound mainline pulley, a mainline swivel, sorry. Uni knot, a bit of gob oil. Where's my hook puller? We are actually on following day now, guys. My ankle was giving me too much jip yesterday to be able to continue filming. Where's my puller gone? How's it gone? Give me a sec. Right, okay, can't find my puller. I'll use pliers. I do always like to give the tag end a little bit of a tug, although it shouldn't necessarily be required. Right, so rig body. Now comes the complicated bit. Now you'll notice in this packet, if it shows up on camera, you should be able to see 2 coloured pieces of plastic, a red and a green, and they are different. One is a piece of silicone to use as a stop knot, to do with a little tray really. I did print one out and I've forgotten to bring it down. Oh, I know what I've got. An empty hook box. Or I should have. Do you know what? I can't find anything today. We use the top of the Genie box. It has got a lip on it, so things shouldn't roll around. So in this box, per rig, you are going to have, and I'm going to have to sort of look down at the instructions. The instructions for tying these, very handily, are on the back of the packet. And like I said, I've never done this, so we're going to start with a swivel. Okay, a swivel. Now we are working backwards. Always remember we're working backwards. Yeah, a swivel, and then we go in red spacer. So that's the red. I mean, you can feel the difference. The red is a hard piece of plastic and the green is a piece of silicone. A red spacer then a crimp, which does also come in the packet. So it is complete. And then the pull clip, what they call the pull clip. That's one of these, the little bent rig clip you saw yesterday. Now I need this to be bottom towards weight. So working backwards, it's going on that way, so you can see where's going to be, that's the weight end, so it's pointing down. A bit of a fiddly bit, I don't know whether to do this now or later, so we'll try doing it now. The swivel that you put on first clips over, clips inside the little rig clip like that. Alright, should there not have been a bead in there? I feel like there should have been a bead in there. No, that is the next thing though. It's called a release bead. Okay, so we'll go with this one. And I mean, I suppose this rig, or tying this rig this way, is a kind of in line with the channel, because as I say time and time again, this is a learning channel, you know. And then the sliding stop knot, that's the green piece of silicone, as you saw me do in many of my other videos. You create a piece of silicone into a stop knot, you just go through it twice. Alright, pull it tight, it inverts itself and it creates a little sliding stop knot, and that's it. That is it. Okay, that is what will be your release system, I suppose. Like I said, this is new to me. This is not one that I've tied before. So I'm just gonna put. Oh, I've just found me. Do you know? I'm sure that, I mean, literally, right there, right in front of the camera, it was sat. And I'm sure it wasn't there 2 seconds ago. So I'm just gonna put this stuff back away. Okay. Now, I mean, you guys know me, and you know I like a spring, which is why I like the Trident system. No space for it in there, so put it in here. But I've not tested this one, I've not used it, I've not tried it. I think I actually bought this pack because it was the only way that I could get some of those rig clips. This isn't one that was sent to me, it's just, I want to show you, because this is a rig that I'm going to be using in summer, so I want to show you it. And I will run it in comparison with the Trident and see what I actually prefer, because although this one feels more complicated to tie, it might be easier to use. I don't know. You know, I don't know these things until I try it. So we'll put a snood swivel, 45-pound snood swivel. Ooh, flick it across. So just launch it on the bottom. And then I'm going to use 30-pound amnesia again. I do like amnesia. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4. And I'm going to do something that I don't think I've done in a rig time video yet. And it's a little handy tip for rigs like this. Because you've got a finite amount of rig body, you need to know what the length is of your rig. Now that's come out exactly where I want it to. I've got, on my bench here, I've got 1 foot, 2 foot, 3 foot, 4 foot markings. I wanted this to come out at 2 foot. And it's come out not to knot, so not including the swivels, it's come out at exactly 2 foot. Which means, the reason I've measured that, it means that I know I can now measure my hook length to 4 foot. And by the time I've tied it, it is definitely going to be shorter. Once we configure the rig, it is definitely going to be shorter than the rig body. Okay, so we're going to grab a 4 foot length of hook snood. So I'm putting £30 on this, purely and simply not because I plan on catching £30 rays, but because they can be a bit hard to pull in. So I'll attach this on here. Could have done a back-to-back uni knot instead of using a swivel, but I like that a swivel removes the ability for the line to twist up quite so much. Now, I do see a lot of people go, oh, you shouldn't use the swivel, you know, when you've got that and you're tightening your knots down, you go either side of the swivel. You shouldn't do that because it might snap the line. If the swivel was going to snap the line, I'd rather do it in this shed than with a fish on the end. Now, for the up and over, you can, if you want, as you've seen me do many times, put a piece of silicone on here. I've got no lead attachment. This is what happens when you go balls to the wall and you rush tying a rig. I've just realised I've not given myself a lead attachment point. Normally you'd have a fixed lead, but since as I've buggered up, I'm going to give myself a running lead. Am I? Yes. I'm going to give myself a running lead. So, once again, I mean, I've buggered up and I'm not going to cut it out. It's my fault. You know, we all do it. So, I'm going to cut off that hook length that I've just tied. I've cut it off the hook length side so the swivel stays on the hook length side. And I'm going to be dead simple. A couple of cheap Poundland beads to protect your knots. What we got there? I picked up a pink one, so I want another pink one because of OCD. Okay, so knot, bead on. I mean, yes, I could use a Gemini bead, but in this instance it's unnecessary because there's no crimps for these beads to interfere with. Pulley bead. There we go, that's going to be my lead attachment point. Okay, that's it. I fluffed up, but there's no need to scrap the entire rig. It's easily fixed, provided you catch it at the right time. If you've already got the hooks and everything on, sometimes it's easier just to scrap the whole rig. Now I am going to tie this, I'm going to be a bit more frugal in the tying of this uni knot because I want to lose the least amount of line possible, because I've already measured my rig. Okay, cinch that knot down. So I'm learning live on video here, so you know, it is what it is. These things happen, and it's about knowing how to overcome as much as not making the mistake in the first place. So I've now got my lead attachment point. So I'll run you through the components that are on the rig body now. So going from top to bottom, you've got your mainline swivel, coming down to a snood swivel or a lightweight swivel. I don't think that needs to be heavy duty. And this is the order at which I put the components on, so it doesn't necessarily look right. But swivel, then the red, what do they call it? Red stopper, or red spacer, then a crimp, and then the rig clip, okay? Then the bead, and then the green piece of silicone as a stop knot, as a sliding stop knot. Then coming down to here, so your lead attachment point, just got a couple of beads and a Gemini pulley bead. Do they call them Gemini pulley beads? Yes, I think they do. And then I've still got my 4 foot of rig bod of hook length, which I've already lost some, obviously, because of the knots. I'm just going to check my measurement. Yeah, okay. So I'm going to have to clip a bit off the hook length. It is what it is. I'm going to chop off around about 5 to 6 inches, just to be sure that it's going to remain shorter than my rig body. Right. I'm going to put a pair of 3/0s on this. This is where I need a bit of feedback from you guys, you're more experienced ray fishermen. I'm putting 3/0s on. I'm not aiming for big rays. I'm aiming to not narrow my field when it comes to rays. So, I want to be able, I don't mind. I'm quite happy to cross off my species list a ray that big. You know what I'm saying? I'd love a ray that big or even bigger. But I don't mind if it's that big. So I don't want to remove the option of catching something that small, but I don't want to miss the opportunity of catching something that big. So I'm kind of aiming for a 2/0, 3/0 rig here. So I'm going to put on as a pennel hook a 3/0 circle, if I've actually got any 3/0 circles. Oh, that's really big circles in here that I didn't know I had. Size 1s, size 4s, size 3/0 crab hook from Cox and Roll. No. Right, okay, I'm going to go with one of these then. This is just slightly bigger than I wanted, or shall I go slightly smaller? Don't have any 3/0 circle hooks, so shall I go smaller with a 2/0 or bigger with a 4/0? I tend to find that the size matches a bit better if you go one up from your J hook size. So we've got a 4/0 circle, and then we're going to put a 3/0 Manta Extra on the bottom. Okay, and just to show you what I'm saying, I tend to find in the Sakuma line that gape wise, these are Manta Extra hooks, that the 4/0 and the 3/0 are a lot closer in gape. So that's the front to the back. They're a lot closer in gape than a 3/0 would match a 3/0. So I do tend to find going up a size is better. But I'm going to attach this pennel hook the same way you've seen me do. The only thing I'm doing is, instead of using 1.5mm silicone, I'm using, oh no, tell you what, no, we'll use the 1.5mm silicone and see how we get on with it. Okay, and a bait stop, not a bait stop, but a little stop knot behind it, once again made out of silicone. Okay, so we'll pop that on. Don't know if this is necessary. This is a complete, like I said, I've fished once or twice with the up and over tied out of Trident gear. The sea was too rough really when I was testing it out, so I didn't get to actually put it through its paces. So I'm still testing. This is sort of my first iteration of this rig, as it were. It's the first time I've tied some with major intentions of using it. And as always, the hook length goes through the circle hook front to back. Okay, slide that up a little bit. Wet the eye of the hook. Now, you've got that to go over that eye. Don't look like it'll make it, but it does. It just takes a bit of persuasion. You can make life a little bit easier for yourself. You can use a bigger piece of silicone tubing, or a wider diameter piece of silicone tubing. I have succeeded in fitting this over one of these hook eyes before. See, just started it there. Look, it does take a bit more persuasion. It is a bit harder to do, but it does give you a tighter grip on the shank. If you can get away with, if you've got the patience to use the narrower diameter silicone. Twisting and turning to put the silicone on doesn't matter. You won't really damage the silicone, you won't really damage the line, provided you're using a memory free line, because you'll see when you do this yourself, you'll see as soon as you tug on the line, all the twists and turns inside kick themselves out, or sort themselves out. Come on. Last little bit. You're not going to have it, are you? You do have to, the piece of silicone that you cut, I have found you do have to make sure that you put it all the way over the eye. If you leave it like this one, it's not all the way over the eye. You need the silicone really to butt up against the inside of the hook side of the eye, if that makes any sense at all, to make sure it can't peel itself back off. This is really fighting me now. Put some twists in it, and that increases your grip on it a little bit. I've tried all sorts. Sometimes it's just this fiddly. And the last thing you want to do is rush it and get a circle hook in your hand. Give me a minute. There. Okay, pull that out, pull all the kinks out. Yeah, as I was saying, you do need the silicone to come all the way over the eye of the hook, because it's a lot less easy for the silicone to slide back off the back of the hook then. There we go. And then, like I said, we're just going to pair that with a 3/0 Manta Extra. Like I said, I do want your feedback on these hook sizes. And I love feedback as well on the rigs. The 3/0 clip down, you've seen, I've done, I think, 1 or 2 videos now on the 3/0 clip down. And somebody said in one of the comments, Russ, why are you putting 2 springs on? One on your top hook, one on your middle hook. You only need one on the top hook. Under that advice, I tried it, and the person was, perfectly right. This is a learning channel. It's about my journey, me and my journey into learning how to sea fish. Feedback like that is what I want. It's what I'm after. It's part of the reason why I do these rig tying videos. You've seen me already fluff up this rig once. And, and then proceededly, hopefully fix it. So, it's time to set the rig. Now these are a massive rig. I mean, my attachment point's here, okay, and this is going to put a bait, so that's going to sit on the sea bottom, and this is putting a bait on a running lead, okay, that's important to remember. It's putting a bait on a running lead 2 to 3 feet away from the lead, a massive distance. If your lead is here, your bait's all the way down here, able to move around. Added traction. Okay, so we need to set this up now, so we'll slide the stop knot up. What we need to do to set this is I'm going to set it quite high, okay, so that needs to be able to travel enough to unclip, so we'll put that there. Okay, go with there. I mean, there could be another fluff up here, because like I said, this is entirely new to me, but you can see now I've crimped that crimp. I'll bring it in. You can see now that I've crimped that crimp, that isn't going anywhere. The idea is the water pressure pushes that bead up and it kicks your line off. If I shut this door, see a sec. Oh, lovely day. if I shut this door, hopefully you'll be able to see a bit more. Whee! Promise I'm not drunk. So if we use one of these, actually, oh no, I've got a clip down lead. So if we use one of these, so you put your lead on, okay, you then feed that up and over here, and then down into your clip. Alright, so you can see now that massive rig has clipped down to that, and then it releases, and it releases the bait. I've got to say, what I was saying at the beginning about I've only ever tied this with trident gear, and I only really have ever used it with trident gear. Obviously this is my first time, and it's quite intuitive, apart from that one mess up which was my fault. It's quite intuitive how the rig is built, how it's set up, etc. I gotta say, I like that. And you can see I've not wasted that much rig bodding. You know, it's still there. There are people who like the guys that say about the pulley pennel rig should be the heavy duty line all the way through. I don't disagree with that if you're a power caster. Of course, with this, your £30 line is doubled over, so it's stronger than if it was a single run of it. So it should be a relatively safe rig as well. But that's it. Bit of a journey to get there. So a bit of a mess up on my part, but a great rig nonetheless. I like it. Hopefully it'll bag us some rays this year. So with all that being said, and without further ado, don't forget to like, share and subscribe. I hope you get some value from this. As I said in the pulley dropper rig, I appreciate I've gone into a bit of detail. I've shown my mistake, and I appreciate sort of a lot of you veteran fishermen out there who are just going to be sat there saying, tosser, I don't know what he's doing. You're right. I'm following rig guidance from more experienced fishermen. This is about me and my journey and learning about making these rigs and passing that documentation on to you, the less experienced fishermen. Showing my mistakes, showing my errors, and I do intend on, if somebody comes back to me and says, try this, try that, and I remake it, we'll revisit the rig on video. So your feedback is greatly appreciated. But I've got high hopes for this year. So I've got another couple that I'm going to tie. There was one that I actually did a video on last year that I'm going to revisit, and that's the Paternoster with my version, my lazy ass take on the dingle dangle, on the dongle bit, the hair rig or the dingle dangle or the dongle rig. That one's going to be up next. Well, I'm going to film it next. I'm trying to do a complex, a basic, a complex and a basic. I do also need to revisit the pulley rig. A lot of people have asked me to revisit the pulley rig with the silicone attachment point and things like that. Last year I did show, in fact not long ago actually, it was only a few weeks ago, I showed the very, 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 very basic pulley pennel in its purest form. And a lot of people have said, can you show us the way that you use it, the way you tie it for you to use? So I'm going to do that. And I'm not going to revisit the 3-hook clip down. I think I've done that, and my variations on it, there's not a great deal of variation from the video that I did. So I'm going to do the Paternoster. I'm going to revisit the pulley. Both great rigs, both serve different purposes. And then I might look at tying something a bit extravagant. Another one that I've never tied before. I might look at tying a wishbone rig. And if I can get some, I might look at tying a boom rig. If I can get some booms. But that might not come out in a chunk with this. Anyway, bit of a rant. Apologies. Stay safe, tight lines, like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you later.